Hello, I'm Tina. You may have read some of the stories about my brother John and his journey which led to him becoming Jennifer. But the story begins before the night he got caught by our mother. In fact, our mother wasn't the first person to catch John wearing a skirt. That honor happens to be mine, and all because I had a suspicion that someone had been in my clothes cupboards and drawers. Now John and I are not that far apart age-wise, which meant we were pretty well the same size, with John being just a little taller. This little fact meant we could trade clothes if we had so wished. I admit to borrowing a couple of his funky sci-fi themed t-shirts. But I suppose that could have led to his sojourn into cross-dressing. Even today I am unsure as to when John started. All I know is that I was first to make the discovery. And I beg your indulgence with my use of gender pronouns, I sometimes still get them confused. So it all began, while my involvement in helping John, on a wet Saturday afternoon. "John." "Tina," our mother called out, "I've got to go out. You two behave yourselves and try not to annoy each other." Mom had given us her usual warning. Usually we were pretty good in that regard, in that we didn't annoy each other unless it was over what to watch on the television. "Tina went out, Mom," John replied. "She's gone to Julia's to get a CD back." "Okay, John. But try not to annoy your sister," she answered. "I should only be a couple of hours." With that, the front door closed as Mom left. I don't know how long John waited, but I know what he had in mind. After all, he was on his own in the house. He went into my room. I arrived home about half an hour after Mom had gone on her errand. And I was totally unaware of what to expect when I got home. But I was alerted to a sound coming from my bedroom, so I slowly crept upstairs wondering who was in my room. I opened the door to my room slowly, and keeping quiet as I could, I peered round the edge of the door. What I saw was something I didn't expect. A young teenage girl with a short hairstyle about my age was standing in front of my full-length mirror. She was wearing an outfit that had been carefully put together. I can remember to this day what she was wearing. From top to bottom she wore a purple t-shirt, which I hated, a dark denim skirt which ended just above the knee, tan tights which hugged her legs giving them a delightful feminine shape, and a pair of knee-high black boots with a 3-inch heel. I continued to watch as, walking in the heels as if she were born in them, she picked a denim jacket to match her skirt. I have to admit the ensemble suited her, even if she didn't truly have the figure to carry it off. I stepped into my room. "Caught you!" I exclaimed, "whoever you are." She turned to face me with the look of a deer caught in headlights. "Oops. Tina. John. Sis. I can. Look." I just smiled at him. I know I should have read him the riot act, but he looked so cute I couldn't bring myself to. I just walked up to her and enveloped her into a hug. I've always wanted a sister. I paused. And it looks like I've got one. John was close to tears. He was shaking slightly, so I hugged him again. Smiling, I took another look at her. "That's a good look for you. You've obviously put a lot of effort into your choices. But I think you could use a few improvements." I looked at John. "We need to sort you out so those clothes fit you properly." I giggled. "Let me work my magic on you, so the ugly duckling can be the beautiful swan she's meant to be." And so it began. I thought that if my brother wanted to be my sister, I was going to help her be as convincing as possible. The fact we were almost the same size was going to help. I told her to strip down to her tights, laughing as she wiggled her toes after being released from the confines of the boots. I couldn't help but notice that John was wearing panties. When asked, I discovered they were her own and that she had tucked her boy bits away. and that her whole body and legs were hair-free, which came as a surprise. I was beginning to realize that she had done this before. Being tactful, I didn't bring the subject up. Although as she stripped, we discussed what name my new sister should have. We settled on Jennifer. "Here you go, Jenny. Put this on," I said, handing her a padded panty brief. "It will give you some shape around your bottom and help the skirt sit properly." "Should I remove the tights first?" Jennifer asked. "Or just put it on over them?" "Put it on over them for now," I replied. "Now you get to wear your first bra." I found one which matched her panties and watched her work out how to put it on. And from a box in the same drawer I produced some fillers. "These should give you some shape, but we'll have to get you your own at some point." Jenny put them into the separate bra cups and I could see an improvement. I wondered why my brother wanted to dress as a girl. But that was a question for another time. With the foundation, garments on Jenny started to look like a girl her own age. There were a few more tweaks that I needed to do. But first I got her to put the clothes she had picked out back on. She started with the skirt, which once she zipped it up showed her newly feminine figure to perfection. The t-shirt followed and slowly my brother disappeared. The t-shirt now fit her correctly and I must admit it suited Jennifer better. She added the boots and stood up. Even without makeup I could only see a little bit of John. Her mannerisms had also changed to those of a girl. "Now you're not finished yet, Jenny." I guided her over to my vanity and got her to sit down. "I'll explain everything I am doing. And when we get you your own makeup, you'll be able to do everything yourself. Jennifer, I'm going to teach you all the tricks I know. And when I'm finished, I doubt even Mom will recognize you." "Mom, Mom," Jennifer said with a slight catch in her throat. "You'll be fine, Jenny. Trust me," I said in an effort to reassure her. Besides, she'd gone out. "So it's just the two of us, just sisters together." Jenny smiled. "I trust you, sis. Work your magic." I covered all the mirrors in my room, as I wanted to do a big reveal. And so I set to work explaining each step. First I used a facial wipe to cleanse John's face, following that up with a tissue to remove anything I'd missed. A light layer of moisturizing foundation and blemish cover was followed by a dusting of face powder in a similar shade. I explained that to make a face beautiful you needed a blank canvas and any blemishes needed to be hidden. I proceeded to work on Jennifer's eyes using a white eyeshadow followed by eyeliner and then a mix of shadows to match what she was wearing, but being careful not to go over the top. Mascara was applied to both her upper and lower lashes. I would have added false lashes, but that would be for another day. I added a light blush to Jenny's cheeks. And I had to smile as she looked beautiful. I selected a ruby-colored lipstick and applied it to her lips. But she wasn't finished yet. Telling her to keep her eyes shut, I looked in my wardrobe for a wig I knew I had. It was light auburn in color and matched my hair color. As I placed it on Jenny's head, I noticed that it would be shoulder length on her. Getting her to stand up, I handed her the denim jacket to complete the ensemble. She adjusted her hair as if it were her own. It was as if I was watching a different person standing before me. "Jennifer, are you ready for the big reveal?" I asked as I stood before the full-length mirror. "Do you want to see what you look like as a girl?" Jennifer slowly nodded and looked down at her boot-covered feet. She really did look right dressed as a girl. I smiled and slowly removed the towel from the mirror. Ta-da! I watched as she slowly looked up and took a good look at her reflection. There was a slight look of disbelief as she watched the girl in the mirror, but all I saw was a beautiful girl. John, as I watched him strike different poses, was as female as she appeared. I knew then that I had a sister, albeit a temporary one, I could share things with. And after all, he had shared his big secret with me. I went and stood next to her, and we looked at the reflection. We looked like sisters. There was no doubt in my mind. Jennifer turned and hugged me. "Thank you, Tina," she said in a softer voice. "Thank you very much." "You're very welcome, Jennifer." "And I think my sister deserves a present," I said with a smile. "You can keep what you are wearing. Of course, we'll have to get you some other female clothes, underwear, and your own makeup. But for the time being, we can share clothes, and all I ask is that you ask first." I paused in thought. "Let's go downstairs and have a drink. And then maybe we can go for a walk as sisters?" Jennifer chewed her lip. It was something John did when he was nervous. A walk? "I'm not sure. Jennifer, you are a beautiful girl. You walk in those heels as if you've been wearing them for years. No one but us will know the truth. Besides, you are going to want to go out at some point. So why not now?" Jennifer smiled. "I guess you're right, sis. I am all dressed up with no place to go. I'll go and put the kettle on. We'll have a drink, then go for a walk. But we have to get back before Mum gets home." She paused again. "I don't want Mum to see me dressed just yet." "Okay, Jennifer. I agree. A drink, a walk, and get home before Mum." At the mention of Mum, my mobile phone rang. "Hi, Mum. What's up? I thought you would have rung the landline." I listened as Mum explained what had happened. "Okay, Mum, I'll tell him." Mum hung up and I turned to face Jennifer. "We've got a bit longer to spend as sisters. Mom is stuck in traffic. So we can go for a slightly longer walk. And I'll make sure we'll be back before she gets home. She said she'll ring when she's closer to home. And she also asked why your phone is off." As it went straight to voicemail, I laughed, but we both know the answer to that question. Jenny bit her lip again. "I would be nervous too. Mom would have a go at him for having his phone switched off." I found a black leather handbag that she could use, putting tissues, lipstick, a purse with money from John's wallet, and his mobile phone. Jenny smiled at me when I handed it to her. "The bag is also yours to keep," I added. "Every girl has a favorite handbag." Jennifer became more confident as we walked. I decided to go to the local store thinking that Jennifer needed some social interaction. But she was ahead of me there. So as we were in the store, she purchased a copy of Elle with Andrei Pejic in a dress on the front, some Dr. Pepper, and walked up to the counter and paid for them. I was very proud of her. My faux sister had passed her pop quiz during her first real outing whilst dressed. I then had an idea. I would take Jennifer to meet Julia. Julia knows John, and I thought this would be a good test for him. Okay, it was a lot for him to do on his first true outing en femme. But everything she had done so far she had passed with flying colors. And I was sure Jennifer could handle meeting Julia. Jenny looked at me and said, "Tina, I've come this far. I'm sure Julia will see through this mask, but let's give it a go. We can always say that I lost a bet if it goes wrong." Did I mention John can be pretty smart when he needs to be? But then again, he is my brother. And I do love him. Julia is one of my best friends, and we've known each other since junior school. And that is why I chose her to meet Jennifer. Although I knew that we had to be careful if her mother was home, she was a friend of Mom's, but I was sure Jennifer would handle herself well. At the time, I don't know why I suggested that we go and see her, but she was a good friend and could be trusted with secrets. And meeting my new sister would be some secret she could be asked to keep. And I began to wonder if this would be a step too far for Jennifer. But then again, she had taken everything I had thrown at her in her stride. It was as if Jennifer and John were two separate people. As we left the store, Jennifer passed two boys in her class. They didn't even take a second look. For all they knew, Jennifer was a girl their age who went to another school. I hid a smile as one of them stopped to check Jenny out. I seriously thought about telling her, but I would keep that little fact to myself. I found Jennifer waiting for me as she looked into the window of a woman's clothing store which was next door. She was looking at the prom dresses they had on display. That also brought a smile to my face. My brother looking at prom dresses, who would have thought? Baby steps, Jen, I said, breaking her train of thought. Baby steps. Although that dark green sheath dress would look fantastic on you with the right foundation garments, smiling I continued, we better get going. The click of our heels against the pavement had a calming effect on Jennifer. With each step she appeared to be a little more confident. I found that surprising, and to be honest, I was expecting her to make a break for home. But Jennifer was hanging in there. I could hardly call her John the way she was dressed now, could I? We reached Julia's home and walked up the path to her front door. As I pressed the doorbell, Jennifer smoothed imaginary wrinkles from her skirt. Jennifer turned to look at me as if to say, what? As far as she was concerned, her actions were normal. Of course, I held back a laugh. Julia's mother answered the door, and the smell of cooking and freshly brewed coffee danced with our senses. Hello, Tina. She allowed us to enter. Who is your friend? She asked with a smile. Hello, Mrs. Johnson. This is my cousin Jennifer. She surprised us this afternoon by coming to visit. It's a pleasure to meet you, Jennifer. Mrs. Johnson looked at her. I can see the family resemblance. She paused. Come on through to the kitchen. Julia is cooking and I am sure she would like to meet you, Jennifer. Jennifer smiled. It's a pleasure to meet you too, Mrs. Johnson. It was Tina's idea I come with her to meet Julia. I don't think she wanted me to be left alone with my cousin John. I hid a look of surprise, and Mrs. Johnson laughed. John can be a bit of a handful. But he is a nice boy. You could have brought him round. John was busy when we left, I added. He was doing something on his computer. What, I don't know. But it keeps him out of trouble. As we entered the kitchen, Mrs. Johnson left us and went off to the lounge. I smiled and said, Hi Julia, I'd like you to meet my cousin Jennifer. Hi Tina, and hello Jennifer. She looked at Jenny. I can see the family resemblance. She looks a little like your brother. She smiled. Please don't take that the wrong way, Jennifer. I heaved a sigh of relief. Julia hadn't recognized John. Jennifer just shrugged, adding, My mother has said that I do look like John. She giggled, she actually giggled, but then again, we all have our crosses to bear. Mine is I have a slight resemblance to my cousin John. Jennifer poured us a mug of coffee each. Jennifer took a cautious sip and placed her mug down. Julia, she asked. Did Tina ever tell you of time that John and I swapped places? It was when we were both a lot younger. Jennifer had dropped a hint. I wondered if Julia would pick up on it. No. I don't think she has. Did it cause any trouble? They were both told to change back, I told her. Our mother and aunt found it very funny. But our father lost his sense of humor and John got A. I looked over at Jennifer. John got a good hiding from Dad. And he was told never to do it again. I smiled at Jennifer. What she told Julia had actually happened, but John had swapped clothes with our cousin Catherine. I often wonder whose idea it was as I look back. I didn't know that, Julia replied. Were any pictures taken? I bet John looked cute dressed as a girl. He did, Jennifer added. Both my mom and Aunt Catherine thought so. But John's dad is one of those macho types. Boys should be boys, girls should be girls, and no middle ground. It's one of the reasons Mum divorced him, I said. I think when he beat John was the start. It also explains why John is so quiet. I'd love to get him to open up a little. Julia smiled. I like John. Mom would approve. But he does need to open up. I signaled to Jennifer to remain quiet. You like my twerp of a brother? I don't believe it, shaking my head. It's okay, Julia, your secret is safe with us. From there we started talking about all sorts of things. Mostly about Jennifer's interests, if she had a boyfriend, who she fancied, etc. I was surprised as Jenny answered all questions asked. I was scared that she would accidentally out herself. But I needn't have worried. Especially when Julia's mother joined the conversation. The time came to leave. And Julia saw us out handing Jenny a note telling her to give it to John. Jennifer said she would as she put the note in her handbag. We said our goodbyes and made our way home. Jennifer took one final look, for that day, in the mirror at the girl he, John, had become with a tear in his eye. He slowly got changed. Jennifer got put into a cupboard to come out again. I then remembered the note Julia had given Jenny. I rushed upstairs to ask John about it. He was sitting on his bed, the note by his side. He had been crying. As I came up to him, he slowly handed me the note. I took a look. Dear John, you looked beautiful today as Jennifer. And you made a very convincing girl. Do not worry. Your secret is safe with me. As I know Tina would kill me if I let it slip. I would love to see Jennifer again. As long as she is on her own. But there is no rush. Just take your time. Love and hugs, Julia. XXX Julia had also added her mobile number. I sat down next to him, giving him a hug. I knew that Julia would be true to her word. But I felt sad that John as Jennifer had been read. We never did learn what gave John away. He may have made a slight slip and not noticed. John, Tina. Mom called as she came through the door. I'm home. We're in the kitchen, Mom. John answered, I've just put the kettle on. So what have you two been up to this afternoon? She asked. We just talked, Mom, I told her. We just talked.